So we've all heard of the Mega Mans, the Raymans, the Neir Automatas, these paragons of gaming virtue. But what about Mecho Tales? Now this game I hadn't heard about until recently. Actually, I didn't really pay attention to it at all until it dropped from $9.99 to 99 cents on the Switch eShop. But Mecho Tales takes liberal inspiration from all of the greats. Movies, classic games, recent games, and it puts it all together into its own very unique game. So let's dive into the review and see exactly how that works out. Mecho Tales was originally released back in 2015 for a couple other platforms like the PC and the iOS. But it came to the Switch platform back in 2017. So I thought, hey, that's it's a couple years of development to make it ready for this incredible console. And queuing it up, I did not think I was going to be disappointed. I mean, it had rich graphics. It looked like there was a lot of effort put into it, anywhere from 1 to 4 players. And I was just ready to have a fun experience, especially looking at these introductory characters. They're bouncy, they're rich colors. It looks like there was some inspiration from Rayman taken, especially with the way the characters move. And I thought it was going to be an enjoyable experience. But kind of like many of the other games, especially at this price point, you're thrown in as a player to just some underdeveloped storyline where you really don't have any understanding of what's going on, except for apparently you just stole a droid that's full of plans that could potentially stop a war? Okay, I cannot be the only one seeing Star Wars here. While this would be forgivable if the gameplay is good enough, the gameplay is arguably not good enough. Being accosted by a series of individual control options throughout the first few seconds of the game only serves to distract and actually break the player away from the character. At this point, we still don't know what the mission is, but what we do know is that the developer really liked Rayman, Mega Man, and as you'll see in a second, even Donkey Kong. This character, the first enemy you really face in the game, is actually the same first enemy you face in Mega Man X, the two-legged walker with the little missile system. And the screen pans. Now, the screen panning, where the protagonist walks up to the edge of the screen and then the screen pans over, doesn't serve any functional purpose. It's not something that requires less processor speed, so it is just something that was taken as a trope to tribute to gamers who were a fan of that series. Though the characters are both static and dynamic, actually making the enemies hard to navigate, which can make it more fulfilling, the fact that they use both dynamic and static enemies that can easily be exploited kind of changes the gameplay. It's not something that you can just run and gun, because certain enemies you actually have to calculate. But then other enemies you can literally just jump over because they never change their positions. So being both, it's just not great at either. Now at this point in the level, I actually started to wonder why it seemed so familiar. There was just something about it. I mean, I'd never played the game before. I was just working my way up and down a ladder, waiting for an opening for the enemies so I could jump to the next platform and move on to finish the level. Wait. I've been doing this since I was 4 years old. There's entire games that are based on just climbing up and down ladders, waiting on enemies so that you can jump to the next platform to climb up to finish the level. And at least as far as Donkey Kong goes, that game was original and entertaining and fulfilling because I was trying to save a princess. Here, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a robot who stole a robot, and I just died on some spikes. Hold up, where else do we die on spikes as a robot? Alright, back to gameplay. I need to stop. What I really do love is that it's an android character in an android world with a little android buddy who shoots with this omnidirectional shooting system, and that's really original, and I love that. Holy f***, is nothing original? No, the answer is no. Nothing about this game is original. With all of its inspiration, Mecho Tales just resolved itself into being this pandering fan service wannabe tribute game where its difficult controls, lack of story and development, and its kind of forced audio just leave it at its highest praise being the fact that, yes, it actually is a game. And maybe the player would feel some sense of relief at the fact that they only spent 99 cents to play it. Well, so now that I've put the game away and I've taken a minute to get all of my head shakes and face palms out of my system, Let's talk about what happened. I mean, this was a unique game that took inspiration from some of the most inspiring games out there, especially the ones that laid the foundation for certain elements of gaming. So, why didn't it work? What's wrong with it? I mean, in my personal opinion, I think it's because it took the inspiration, but it left the ingenuity at the door. It was more a montage of tropes and tributes than some unique game that it could have been. It's definitely nothing original, and because of that, it just seems cheap.